Yo, welcome back, Xycor here, and today in our Relegend Magnus showcase, we're going to take a look at the super sticky snail of the Wilkwoods. Yes, this snail's slime is so sticky, once you get on it, you'll never get off. Yes, this Magnus is Triemer, one of the, the interesting Magnus of the Wilkwoods. I mean, I guess I could say interesting, but it's a snail, so I guess you could say it's an armored snail. Apparently its slime is so sticky that things just can't get out of it. So yeah, it's it can be an interesting addition to your Magnus party. So I'm going to tell you what they can do, where they can go, how to evolve them, and what attacks they can do, and what they can even do on your farm. So yeah, if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe as well. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you where they spawn. So the first place they spawn is here in the Wilkwoods. They spawn in the area of the Misty Swamp. And so basically you come here by coming into the Wilkwoods at the Sunny Lagoon. You go through Baby Bit Lair, then through Sunny Shore, and you'll be in the Misty Swamp. Get off here. And they also spawn up here in the next area. And I believe this is called Triemer Grove. Yes, Triemer Grove. So yes, they spawn in two locations. Now, let's check out their information in the Magnuspedia. They are in the Wilkwoods tab and over here. So yes, Triemer is a class of tank and their behavior is passive. So yeah, they seem like they can take a lot of damage and they really don't attack you. I mean, yeah, they don't attack you. They're fairly docile. The Triemer slime is incredibly sticky. Anything unlucky enough to be caught in it are often next day's dinner. So yes, apparently their slime is very sticky. As for their likes, they love pine cones, so that is your best bet for taming them. Other than that, they like wild loot, aqua crops, and land crops. As for the drops, they drop Triemer Gem, Triemer Shell, and Triemer Spike. As for their skills, they have a Slime Field. Shoots out a field of slime that slows enemies, and that takes 5 stamina and has a 5-second cooldown. And they have Echo Shell. Releases shrapnels that damages those around it over time, and that takes 5 stamina and has a 5-second cooldown. As for their farming skill, they can water one row by 3 column area. And then as for their passive party buff, they have health plus 6% and physical defense plus 6%. So yes, they are an interesting Magnus that you can use for your defensive needs. Now basically, to tame them, you just get pine cones, which pine cones are fairly common. I mean, there's one just sitting right here in the Wilkwoods, so yeah, you can find them in the Wilkwoods, and I think you can even find them in Boca City as well, or Boca Village. So yeah, just gather some up and you'll be able to throw it at it. As for one thing I wanted to note, the wild loot that it says they like, I tested a bunch of different types of loot, and what I would think would be considered wild loot, and none of it worked. So yeah, I don't know what the wild loot is considered. So if you know, leave a comment and let me know if you've found anything else other than pine cones that work. Pine cones would be considered wild loot, is in my opinion, but it's the only thing that would be considered wild loot that they actually like, as far as I know. So let me throw a pine cone at it. Get that one. There we go. Then you get on it, play the minigame. Which, yes, I understand the minigame is difficult for some people on PC. It can be a challenge. So, Now, this is Triemer. Got it. They move us a little bit slower than normal Magnus. So yeah, let me come out here and attack some. So their left click attack is a kind of a headbutt. Looks like it just continues to headbutt, a singular headbutt. As for their right click attack, that is the what is that? That was the spikes or something? Something like that. Yeah, and that's the slow. Yeah. Now hit Q. They do have a Q attack. And this is an interesting attack. Yes. You hit Q, it will just continue to damage stuff that attacks it. There we go. And apparently mine fainted because the bunny is stronger than my Triemer. So yes. But what's the most useful about them is that the spikes attack. Let me see the information again. I forgot the name of it. The echo shell. That's what it is. The shrapnel that it damages in things in the area around it. Basically, yes, it will do that damage to everything and just keep damaging it until it stops. And there you go. Yeah, you can do a lot of damage to stuff with that. So it's a very interesting Magnus. And it's also one of the only base Magnus, at least that I know of so far, that has a Q attack. So yes, that's another interesting portion. Anyway. Now, the next thing would be its evolve form, so I will get it to evolve requirements and bring it back when I have that. Now I'll demonstrate their farm ability. So basically, yes, right click, they can water a 1x3 area. So, fairly useful on the farm. Now I finally have it to the requirements. Let's take a look here and see the requirements. So, Magnus over here, and right here, and the evolution. So, Triemer evolves into Revolmer, and the requirement is level 15 with greater than 15 endurance, 2 affection, and a cocoa melon. So there we go. Get off there. Oddly, I tried feeding regular Triemer a cocoa melon to tame them and, considered as wild loot. And they did not like cocoa melons, but apparently they will take a cocoa melon to evolve. Now, as far as I remember, I believe the cocoa melon they also dislike when you're evolving them, so it is kind of awkward. But it works. So, I have mine at 26 endurance. I didn't even have to level that up. It came with that by base. It's level 19 by default when you tame them here, so they're already tamed and ready to level up. Or ready to evolve, I should say, when you tame them. Right here in the Wolfwoods. So hold some cocoa melons and throw it at it. And it will see it doesn't like it, but it will evolve into Revolmer. There we go. Yes. Now Revolmer is just as interesting as Triemer. Actually, let me take a look at it in the Magnuspedia. Let's look at its stats. Its information. So Revolmer is a class of tank, and its behavior is passive, just like Triemer. It doesn't hide in its shell when attacked. Instead, proceeds to bite any overconfident attacker. So yeah, they're confident in their defense. That's what it sounds like. As for their loves, as for their food, they love cocoa melons. Yeah, oddly, they do. But they also like wild loot, aqua crops, and land crops. And I'm not sure what's considered wild loot for them, but yeah, that will take more testing. As for the drops, they drop Triemer Gem, Triemer Shell, and Triemer Spike. As for their skills, they have Slime Field Plus, which shoots out a field of slime that slows enemies, and that takes 10 stamina and has a 7-second cooldown. And their other skill is Echo Shell Plus, release shrapnels that damages those around it over time, and that takes 7 stam and has a 10-second cooldown. As for the farming skill, they can water a 2-row by 3-column area. And for their passive party buff, they have health plus 8% and physical defense plus 8%. So pretty interesting for a very defensive build. And as you can see that their skills are almost the same as their base form, but just a little bit more improved. So it's very interesting. Okay, we'll test it against some of these unknowing bunnies here. So it's left click attack. So it hits kind of twice. Not really kind of twice. It has a 2 attack chain. That's what it has. That's their left click attack, which is a melee attack, I might add. All these attacks of Triemer and Revolmer here are melee attacks. Now the right click attack, that is the slime attack, which slows the bunny down. Let's see how. Yeah, it's a lot slower than it was before. So let's hit Q. Try that Q attack. Yeah, that just saps the HP of the Magnus away. It's actually a pretty cool attack, although you do take damage. So it's something you gotta manage carefully. As the enemy Magnus is attacking you, you will take damage. But it's a fairly good attack. If they get too far away from you, though, then it misses. So you have to practically be pretty up close to them. But it's a very useful attack. So I will get it to the next form to evolve the requirements for the next evolution, and yeah, we'll see what that is. We'll also check out Revolmer's farm skill here. So yes, just right click and they can water a 2x3 area. Oddly, there's no animation for it. Well, there's kind of an animation, but no water gushing out of their mouth or anything like that. But yes, fairly useful to have on your farm for watering. Okay, I have it to the evolution requirements. Let's take a look at the Magnuspedia. And over here, go to Revolmer, and to the evolution button. Now, Revolmer evolves into Gyramer, and the level requirement is level 45, with greater than 50 endurance, 4 affection, and a rare Cocomelon. So yes, it's I guess, actually a fairly simplistic evolution, because Cocomelons you can generally find around the Volca Coast area. Just go to some of the Volca Coast Magnus areas and you'll most likely find them. Rare Cocomelons can spawn in any place where Cocomelons can. So yes, it's just a matter of finding one. So I have mine to a lot greater than 50 endurance. So yes, I'll just hold my rare Cocomelon and throw it at it. And they also don't like rare Cocomelons, which is even more odd. There we go. It evolves into a Gyramer. So, let's take a look at its stats, its information. So yes, Gyramer is a class of a tank and behavior of passive. So yes, the same as the rest of the line. During times of the full moon, you can see the Gyramers racing each other, drifting between the trees in contests. Yeah, it sounds odd. Apparently they can race each other and drift, which is odd if their slime is supposed to be sticky. You know, it's kind of weird. Anyway, as for their food, they love rare cocomelons, of course. But they also like wild loot, aqua crops, and land crops. Still, the wild loot, again, like I said earlier, it's odd to figure out. They just don't like anything other than cocomelons, I guess, or no, other than any other like pine cones. Anyway, they drop Triemer Gem, Triemer Shell, and Triemer Spike. As for their attacks, they have Slime Sphere. Spawns a field of slime around itself that slows enemies, and that takes 10 stamina and has a 10-second cooldown. They also have Echo Carapace. Release shrapnels that damages those around it over time, and that takes 10 stamina and has a 13-second cooldown. And then they also have Drill Smash. Charges forward to knock down any enemies in front of it, and that takes 15 stamina and has a 10-second cooldown. As for their farming skill, they can water a 3-row by 3-column area. And their passive party buff, they give health plus 10% and physical defense plus 10%. So yes, they are very useful and interesting Magnus. They can water your crops and will give you a nice 10% buff to your health and your defense. So let's take a look at it here. Might as well ride it, because I like to ride Magnus. Apparently you ride on its back. So head over here. So its left click attack is hits twice, I guess, in a sense. Once, yeah, it's a two chain attack. There's 2 attacks in the chain. That's what I'm talking about. They hit it once and then hit it a second time. Yes, that is just a regular left click attack. That is a melee attack. Now the right click attack is the slime, which does some melee damage. It also slows them, so that's pretty useful. You can keep them away from you, and you can just keep moving around them. As for the Q attack, that is the shrapnel attack, which does fairly good damage. Yes. It can take out a lot of Magnus before even, without even having to attack a second time. And then the E attack is a charge forward, which is interesting. Just gotta wait for it to... There we go. Okay, interesting. Could do maybe a little bit more damage than that. The shrapnel attack is by far the best attack. Yes, you take damage during it, but it just does so much damage that, yeah, there's not really any other attack to use on them. So they're pretty cool, pretty useful, and they actually do a good amount of damage. I might actually be interested in taking this to one of the bosses, or one of the guardians. It could be viable. Depends. They'd have to have a lot of defense, though. You'd have to level up defense a lot. But still, it's still possible that they could do quite a good amount of damage with that shrapnel attack, since it attacks so fast and so many times. So it's pretty useful. Now we'll look at Gyramer's farm ability. So yes, it can water a 3x3 area, which is fairly nice. Allows you to get a lot more watered in your in your farm, which, yeah, it might actually be faster than watering it yourself. Who knows? Who knows? So that's always a possibility. So, as for stat advice, let me see here. Now, what I did basically, when you level them up, they seem to get their stat pretty much exclusively in endurance. Yes, all their stats go up just a little bit, but endurance went up a lot. So their endurance by default doesn't really need to get much for levels. I would say yes, you can put some into endurance to make sure that they're tanky enough, but pump a lot of strength so that it increases their damage, and you could also pump some focus as well. But the strength is going to be quite far down there when you get them, because they don't get much in strength. So your best bet is to probably put as much into strength as you can, aside from getting some endurance to keeping strength and endurance maybe around in the same vicinity is kind of what I was thinking maybe myself. But yeah, to each their own. Anyway, I just feel like that might be the best build, or the best type of method to build them, I should say. So yes, that is all for the Triemer line of Magnus. They are very useful Magnus with their drill attack. Yeah, I got stunned there, or stopped, I should say. But yeah, they're very useful with the drill attack. It does a lot of damage in a short amount of time, and really doesn't allow the other enemy Magnus to get away, really, unless you've got weak attack power. So yeah, I guess that's it for this Magnus showcase. If you like this showcase, hit that like button. I really appreciate it, and it helps us out a lot. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that bell icon, leave a comment, and of course share it. What do you think of Triemer? Let me know in the comment section. It looks like it's actually a fairly cool Magnus because of mainly because of its attacks. But anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.